Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all taking care of yourself, making sure to drink enough water and to get enough exercise and go outside and get some fresh air. That's not a joke. It's very, very good for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And don't forget to click that little notification bell thingy. People told me that they clicked it before and then it unclicked itself. That's not a joke. People were like, I definitely clicked on it before. So don't forget to make sure that it is active. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Ethereum is swaying back and forth in the news. People don't know if they want to dislike Ethereum, if they want to talk about it, if the upgrades are awesome, if the upgrades aren't what they expected, if the price is too low, if the price is too high, if the price is going higher, or really, if you look at the news, it kind of just depends on how much someone actually likes Bitcoin. You can kind of gauge the rest. Vitalik Buterin is in the news talking about Ethereum. Why? Because it's the second biggest coin, so that just logically. He's talking about the upgrades and the future of Ethereum, which apparently everyone's a little bit obsessed with. We're going to go over it, and then I'm going to tell you some other stuff because, news. Ethereum co-founder, his name is Vitalik Buterin, took to social media to share his thoughts about the surge, literally called, and I quote, the surge, the blockchain's new era that is expected to bring a higher level of scalability. Since 2016, Ethereum has been on the scene in a very popular way. They made headlines specifically because Bitcoin was then, and still is now, capable on-chain of 3 to 5 transactions per second. I know we've seen it go to 7 before. Cool, awesome. The issue is that this is why we need the Lightning Network. One of the main ideas, at least from core developers, is that Bitcoin is too valuable. Got it. And if you keep upgrading it, keep updating it, keep upgrading it, keep adding new features to it, at some point it might break. Therefore, they want to keep Bitcoin, the chain, as pure as humanly possible. If the bike is working, why would you add on extra wheels and extra wings? And that's kind of one of the ideas for Bitcoin. So this is why we have the Lightning Network and Liquid as well. Also these other layered solutions to allow Bitcoin to, in essence, have quicker transactions per second. When Ethereum jumped onto the scene, they were touted as a chain that was going to, in 2017 and 2018, that was going to have 100 transactions per second, and then 1,000 transactions per second, and then get up to 100,000 transactions per second before we hit 2020. The issue is that none of that actually played out. And I've said it before, as I am not a developer or a coder, I can only say so much about things, but I don't know the difficulty of making a blockchain, making an asset that's worth billions of dollars, and then C, trying to secure it while also making it scale at the exact same time. So we've gotten to the point where Ethereum has done exceedingly well for itself. It is the most used blockchain on the planet. People keep trying to write articles that Coinbase's base is doing well as well. And that's because Coinbase keeps locking their own money on chain to show people exactly how much total value locked, how much money is locked into their chain, because they are actively trying to compete with Ethereum, but no one's using their chain as much as actual Ethereum. The problem is that we've entered a new age. Crypto is no longer for the nerds. It's no longer for me and you 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago being like, oh gosh, let's see where all of this goes. We know where it's going. And only chains that are actually competitive are going to stay around. So while Ethereum has backing by Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, I believe Microsoft, I think Google as well. If you look at the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, you'll see all the names. It's now time to do what you said you were going to do almost a decade ago. The key goals outlined by Buterin include reaching 100,000 transactions per second with Layer 2, preserving the decentralization of Layer 1, making sure that Layer 2s still have Ethereum's core properties, and maximizing interoperability. It appears that there are... this is for all blockchains. This isn't, don't go and say your crappy coin is capable of doing. There's limitations to what one chain currently technologically can do. It's the same exact thing with rocket ships or cars. There are certain limitations to everything. And it seems that when you're pushing a whole bunch into one blockchain, there's only so much that each chain can do without having to sacrifice scalability or decentralization and all of the above. A lot of the discussions right now are revolving around kind of keeping Ethereum as it currently is until technologically people can make it better on chain without having to compromise many other forms of decentralization, as this is constantly a discussion when it comes to staking. You know how you have hundreds of thousands of computers that are securing the Bitcoin network. Even though they're not really decentralized and everyone's trying to get them just in Texas and Alaska, the idea is that there's a multitude of computers. When you stake Ethereum, it kind of goes into staking pools. Therefore, the decentralization comes heavily into question, and they don't want to risk moving that even further into another direction. For those of you who also missed it, they also are, I think they took off the cap. What was it for? Something about staking, trying to make it easier for individuals to be able to stake as opposed to just large companies having control over the staked coins. So the solution that's been proposed, very similar to the Lightning Network, is to basically have the Layer 2 solutions, Polygon, Optimism, what are the other ones? You know them. To kind of have those be the literal backbone of the future of a lot of these coins, of these chains, and more so for Ethereum. It says the Surge era started with a Deneb Cancun upgrade, which took place in March. Really? Why does I feel like it was so long ago? Okay. This was Ethereum's biggest upgrade since the merge. It made the network sustainably more efficient by reducing fees. Cool. Scrolling. Buterin previously stated that the blob space could be significantly expanded up to 16 megabytes per slot. Fantastic. In his most recent post, Buterin stated that achieving the aforementioned blob capability would not be enough to take over consumer payments and other high bandwidth sectors. Once again, here we go. History's rhyming. The conversation was back then, for those of you wondering why 100,000 transactions and not 50,000 and not 200,000, not 500,000. Visa and MasterCard and other company, they tend to and are capable of doing 50,000 to 60,000 transactions per second. And you go, well, why aren't blockchains doing that? It's because Visa and MasterCard have centralized databases. You can do whatever you want on a centralized database when you have control over it. When you have a system that is meant to be decentralized, and thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and millions of people can join and take part in it to make it decentralized, it's more difficult to actually have control over the data as everyone, can see it and there's transparency, and to be able to say, hey, this has to happen. You need network consensus for all these things to take place. And imagine a gigantic spider web the size of your house. Now imagine a million spiders. I mean, wrong analogy for those of you who are scared of spiders, but imagine a million of those spiders trying to connect and move everything around. It's going to be quite jumbled. And these are some of the problems that we have with blockchain. So the idea of 100,000 transactions per second is historically meant to be a number that, exceeds and doubles the capabilities of what Visa and MasterCard are currently doing and are capable of. And therefore, at that point, if any chain gets that, you've basically won. That's why I was asking before, and no one gave me a proper answer. I won't name the blockchains. I was like, what's the name of, this chain? How many transactions per second? And people were like, well, they batch transactions. And I was like, you're not answering my question. How many transactions per second? Well, we put 50 transactions into a box, and I was like, you're still not answering it. The main goal of these chains, or at least the legacy idea, is to pass by the 100,000 per second, whether it be on-chain or layer 2. At that point, you can kind of make the argument that Visa and MasterCard are then no longer needed. For those of you who also had that, that light bulb comically go off over your head, ding! This is why Visa and MasterCard and PayPal jumped into the crypto space so quick, because at some point we will pass by these numbers. We may not be able to do it immediately, but in 10 years, it won't be a question. We'll have every chain talking about doing 1 million per second. And this is why Visa and MasterCard, for those of you who've been missing the last couple of years, have been so adamantly trying to, rear their heads into the crypto space, talking about, oh yeah, we're also still here. Look at us. We're right here. Look at how amazing. That's why I was like, red flag when Visa announced that they wanted you to send your crypto through Visa. They want you to take your crypto, deposit it onto a platform that they have, send it through them, someone else sends it, and then it finally gets to its final destination, if you will, of where it's supposed to be going. Yeah, they understand that they don't have much time left, if you will. He sees Validium, a scaling transaction that does not store data on the Ethereum mainnet, as a possible solution for high volume, low value applications. However, the problem is that Validium users can potentially freeze their funds if on-chain state data is withheld from users. This sounds similar to Lightning. The idea is that for high volume, one of the ideas for the Lightning network is that you're able to kind of stake, if you will, your Bitcoin in the Lightning network. So let's say you have 1/10 of a Bitcoin, 0.10. You lock it into the Lightning network, and basically all transactions that are less than, US dollar, euro, yen value of 0.10 can go through your highway. Imagine you open up a highway, but no one with a license plate that's higher than 0.10 can go through. Everyone else lower than that can go through. Everyone who goes through pays you in 8 or 2 or 3 Satoshis to be able to use your highway. The idea is that as Bitcoin's price goes higher and higher and higher and higher, eventually we'll have highway lanes on Lightning that are just 0.01. In your average day life, you probably aren't transacting in every single transaction over $500. If you are, pinky in the air for you, you're bougie, congratulations, you won capitalism. For everyone else, your normal transactions are $25, $48, and therefore the idea is that it's low volume, the number's not too high, and low value. So basically, you can have millions of people with these small amounts using these different highways all the time at low value numbers. And this is what they're also trying to do for Ethereum as well. They will eventually get there. It's just more of a literal when. According to Buterin, the main remaining task is to bring plasma systems. I haven't heard. Wow. If you've been here since 2017, do you remember plasma? Plasma was the idea of another scaling solution that was meant to be the scaling solution. Like it was all the rage in 2017, 2018. And then there was no mention of plasma whatsoever. This is the first time I've said plasma at all in 6 years. According to Buterin, the main remaining task is to bring plasma systems to production. The off-chain scaling solution would allow Ethereum to process more data. The Ethereum co-founder says it is valuable to continue scaling Layer 1 itself. If Layer 1 fails to scale, the economic situation of ETH, the asset, might become more risky, according to Buterin. One of the possible solutions is increasing the gas limit. This article kind of goes on forever. It's just more of this has been kind of the year of discussion for scaling Ethereum. I think they will eventually do it. It's just more of when. It's always been that kind of question mark for the coin and the chain. They will eventually do it. They sure as heck have the money for it. But when is it actually going to happen? So it's cool to talk about upgrades and updates, we've been talking about it for Ethereum for a while, so we'll see when it takes place. That's the Vitalik Buterin talking about the surge. And yeah, let's move on. Also in the news, another bank has come forward discussing interest rate cuts. Goldman Sachs is predicting a series of 25 basis point interest rate cuts by the Fed from November of this year to the middle of 2025. The bank recently lowered interest rates by 0.5 point. That got everyone very optimistic. The idea is, that the Fed is going to lower interest rates by another 0.5 point in November and then potentially indicate that they're thinking about doing it in December for January. That's one of the ideas that we've been receiving and we've heard a multitude of times. Now, as the economy looks like it's doing better but not. So like, you know how you've seen the news and everyone's like, woo, job loss numbers went down. And then we also hear that not a lot of jobs were created. Or we hear that inflation went down, but prices are still high across the board in supermarkets and for rent and for insurance and all these other kinds of things. So like, we get news that things are good, but not that good. So now the indication is that the Fed basically, so saith the banks, is that the Fed basically has no choice but to lower interest rates. And that instead of doing a 50, a 50, a 50, a 50, they're basically going to drag out 25 point cuts over the course of the next, 6, 7, 9 months, give or take. And people think that they're going to lower it to around a 2 to 3% area for the actual rate cuts, indicating that the economy is doing better. This is the idea. The European Central Bank is also expected to reduce interest rates. I think they just cut it by, I think it was 1/4 of a point, but they're expected to also continue lowering it as well. What a lot of people are really waiting for is hearing the letters QE, quantitative easing. Yes, we heard from China, remember 3 weeks ago. China apparently has planned, is doing so. I don't know. I'm not in China. I can't tell you. They're apparently planning on pumping, I believe, $116 billion, basically printing it and pushing that money into their economy to basically, in essence, keep it afloat, because the Chinese economy is not really doing that well and hasn't been doing well since Evergrande. So if other countries begin to follow suit by lowering interest rates and also turning the money printer back on, everyone's basically waiting for the Fed, the European Central Bank, the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan to all announce quantitative easing, that they're going to basically start printing money, pushing it into the markets. And that would also be another green flag, if you will, for prices to begin to move back up. It says with inflation gradually easing, and that's a gradual, Goldman Sachs expects the Federal Reserve to start a series of 25 basis point interest rate cuts beginning in November and continuing through mid-2025. These cuts aim to bring the target range down to 3.25 to 3.5. I think really 2.75 is kind of going to be the big rush. I think from even just a mental standpoint, I think if someone told me that the interest rate was 3, 4, 5%, 3 for some reason feels like a barrier. But if someone said the interest rate is 2%, I don't think many people would have a problem with a 2-something% interest rate. Raising the question of whether this shift could trigger a new bull run in the cryptocurrency market. We're already in a bull run. I went over that before. I know a lot of times it doesn't seem like it, but you have to understand the numbers that we produce in a monthly period within the cryptocurrency market are quite spectacular comparative to every other asset class. Not some of them, all of them. Even if we manage to do just a 4, 5, or 6, or 7% rise in a crypto coin's price over the course of a month and continue that throughout the year, that's massive. That's 70, almost 80% of a rise. And this is what we usually see in our market. What people are waiting for is kind of the big shebang. They're waiting for the 20, 30% increases in crypto every single month, which we kind of also are there. If you look at doesn't matter where you go. If you go to Coin Codex, CODEX, or even Coin Market Cap, and you do like a 1 month view of prices, at least at the time of me making this video, a lot of coins are doing pretty well. But as I previously stated, the majority of people are waiting for over a $100,000 Bitcoin, and therefore, anything else less than that doesn't really, almost says sprinkle the mind, doesn't jar the mind. You understand what doesn't make people as happy as they could be. So we will probably see another interest rate cut. The economy's not doing that great. Companies still have not announced mega hiring. A lot of these companies who we went over in the summer, who were firing 14,000 people, 22,000 people across this conglomerate were laid off. They haven't rehired people. So when that starts to happen and, jobs really pick up, you can feel it in the air as well. This isn't what's the word? I think a lot of times people tend to, this is going to sound weird, but you can feel when things are okay. When all of your friends have a job, when on Friday all of you are going out to dinner, on the weekend you're going to go see a movie, you're all discussing where are we going to go on vacation next? Let's go here. When it's not hey, let's go to the next city over for vacation, but it's let's go to the Bahamas. That's when everything feels good. That's when you know that the economy is doing very well. And we don't have that right now. So a lot of times people tend to, like I was saying, look for, well, the interest rate cut is definitely going to raise the market. Things will be better by next, spring when they've lowered interest rates by, and it's like, no, things will be better when they're actually better across the board. When you're sitting there thinking about like, I think I want to buy a home, and it's not really a discussion because, interest rates are low enough. You have enough money in the bank. You've been able to save. You have a job, like all these kinds of things that are very secure. However, the problem is right now is nothing is really secure, or at least it doesn't officially feel that way. That's why I was, and I mentioned before, and I'll mention again, this is why I think we're seeing a lot of intensity in the cryptocurrency market, because everyone's kind of waiting for the exact same thing. Like, we're waiting for it to happen. And as I stated and will state again, please, for the love of everlasting goodness, when the cryptocurrency market goes up, and for those of you who are deciding to take some profits, scrape a little bit off the top, from the side, I don't care where, the first thing you need to do is to buy an asset that produces you income. I'm seeing it again. And once again, I can't reach everyone. That's part of the thing about the internet. I'm seeing a lot of people discussing the things that they plan on buying when they take profits. And there's a lot of, and this is again, people talking about buying cars, going on lavish vacations. You can do all of that. And listen, you can do all of it to your heart's content after you've bought an asset, typically real estate, that will continue producing you income for the rest of your life. Then you can, I wouldn't even say go crazy, go mild, but yeah, the world is in a very weird spot right now. Everyone feels it. If you say that you don't, I don't know how you're doing it, but everyone's waiting for some kind of normalcy. And I think a lot of that will return when everyone is doing well economically. Everyone, not just you and your friends. When you're like, you can feel that the tension falls when the economy is doing okay. And people think that we'll get back there if interest rates continue to fall, if people buy homes and the economy, and for me personally, it's kind of just been like prices of things like groceries and like clothing and stuff like that. Like everything seems to be out of whack. And last thought, hearing and seeing all this like shrinkflation stuff and just the prices of things rising. There's a video, I don't know if you'll be able to find it. It was somewhere on social media. Some guy found a, what do you call it? He found a supermarket pamphlet, like the ones that used to, when I was younger, they used to come like the Sunday newspaper all the way in the back. And it was from like 2013, 2014. And it was like, for some reason, perfectly preserved. I don't know why. I don't know where he found it from. He was flipping through it. In 10 years, prices haven't just doubled. They've gone up like 6x. He was looking at like yogurt prices, like the little like Dannon yogurt kind of things, and they were like 29 cents. And I was like, were prices really that cheap? But they're like $1.59 now. Is these kinds of things? So yeah, it's just company greed. They use inflation as an idea for, oh no, inflation, things have to rise. But like, there's a reason why they keep going on to CNBC talking about like exceeding profit expectations. Is because they're greedy. They continuously want to make more, but that's an entirely different discussion. Yeah. I think that's going to do it for this video. I do hope that you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing great. Make sure to take time for yourself. I keep mentioning it. I know it sounds cheesy. I don't care. You need it. 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 Take time for yourself. Do something fun that makes you happy, that makes you laugh. Yeah. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day. morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for leaving a like, for subscribing, for watching the channel after all these years, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.